Zoro vs Mr. 1 is a fight that I've analyzed the artwork of on my second channel, so check that out after this. I used to really love this fight, and I won't deny that it's still cool, but the writing behind it is unimpressive. In this video, I'll be analyzing the writing behind Zoro vs Das Bones. You know I write with a scalpel because my penmanship is surgical. The fight begins in chapter 190. Zoro blocks an attack from Mr. 1 to save Vivi. The column behind him is chopped up somehow, hinting at Mr. 1's powers. Then Zoro attacks back, which reveals that Mr. 1 is made of metal. His fruit is the Dice fruit, which makes his body a steel blade. The two start clashing. The fight returns in 193. Zoro's strategy is to dodge incoming attacks and retaliate with special moves. After using Ushibari, Zoro admits that he can't cut steel, which means that he can't beat Mr. 1. But then he says, when I defeat you, that means I'll be able to cut through steel. The story is already preparing you for the nonsense that's about to happen. It's like he's betting on a power-up to happen, like Yami vs Lich in Black Clover. In 194, Zoro keeps trying to cut through Mr. 1 and it's not working. The strategy is utterly stupid. He takes damage from Mr. 1's Sparkling Daisy. Zoro starts having a flashback about his master telling him about a sword that only cuts what it wants to. Zoro throws a building at Mr. 1 as a distraction. In 195, Mr. 1 chops it up and Zoro comes through the rubble like Gon. Unfortunately, his strategy is still the same. None of the attacks work. Das Bones starts landing hits with his buzzsaws. He cuts Zoro to ribbons and drops rubble on him, but Zoro somehow gets back up when he's walking away. Zoro apparently dodged the rubble because he knew where it would land. Then he's able to sense his katana. He can now hear the breathing of inanimate objects. He can also hear the breathing of Mr. 1's steel and is able to swing at a leaf without cutting it. This BS power-up gives Zoro the ability to cut Das Bones, ending the fight in a single stroke. Yeah, this fight was garbage. Zoro acknowledges that he can't cut through steel, so his strategy is to keep trying until he can. This is illogical. Ultimately, all of his attempts are unsuccessful, unsurprisingly. But then he gets his breathing power-up that's never been foreshadowed and was just introduced in the flashback during the fight. This ability to hear the breaths of inanimate objects somehow allows him to cut through steel. Apparently in Wano, this breath nonsense has been retconned to Haki. So what the story wants me to believe is that Zoro just somehow learned armament Haki while fighting Mr. 1, but forgot how to use it immediately after and had to relearn it during the time skip. You know what that sounds like? Luffy vs Crocodile in 4 Kids. Luffy beat Croc the 3rd time by having blood on his fists to hit the Logia user, but in the 4 Kids version, they censored the blood, which makes no sense. So the fans started joking that Luffy learned Haki in this fight, but then forgot it until the time skip. Then several years later, Oda stole this idea and applied it to a different fight from the exact same arc. It's so ironic, yet hilarious. The unfortunate part is that this fight was actually Oda's chance to show his creativity in writing fights. There are actually ways Zoro could have beaten Das Bones without actually cutting through him with that BS power-up. I have 3 suggestions: rubble, sand, and fire. In rubble, Zoro could have tried to bury Mr. 1 in so much rubble that he wouldn't be able to cut through and would potentially suffocate. Zoro was shown to have enough strength to throw building rubble, and he can obviously cut through it. This is my least favorite. In sand, Zoro could have tried to use the sand around him to bury Mr. 1. Zoro clearly had the skill advantage, so he could have dug a hole with his swords, knocked Mr. 1 in, and covered him in sand. The hole could be deep enough so that Mr. 1 suffocates before he can cut his way through the surface. He could also use the sand to slowly dehydrate Mr. 1. Crocodile's sand powers allow him to immediately dehydrate anyone he touches. Zoro could use this logic to splash his opponent with sand and have it slowly wear him out. This is a pretty solid idea that wouldn't require many changes. In fire, Zoro could be either carrying oil or find oil since they're in a desert. Then, he would use the oil and sword sparks to ignite his blade like Alibaba from Magi or Shishio from Kenshin. These flaming blades would allow him to melt Mr. 1. Alternatively, he could put the oil on Mr. 1 and ignite him, causing the steel body to melt and potentially suffocating him. He could douse him before he actually dies. This is my favorite because not only is it cool, it's a reference to the fact that Zoro said he wanted flaming swords at one point in the story. Or, Zoro could try all 3 of these for the best result. All of these strategies take advantage of natural weaknesses that Das Bones would have. All humans need oxygen, all humans can be dehydrated, and steel can be melted. Any of these would have been a better strategy than pulling a power-up out of his crack. In conclusion, Zoro vs Mr. 1 took the easy way out rather than using creativity, resulting in a poor fight. The art actually does better, so remember to check that video out on my second channel. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.